Hey guys, welcome to another discussion video. It's been a long time since I did one of these. I'm here today with Josh, one of the longest tenured staff members at Zelda Dungeon. How you doing today, Josh?
I'm good.
So we did one of these way back in June 2011 or somewhere around there for Ocarina of Time 3D, where we were just talking about the game and what we were anticipating before its release. And this time around, what do you know? We have another remake of a Zelda game coming out soon, and that is the Wind Waker for the Nintendo Wii U. So Josh, I want to ask you, do you care? Do you care that Wind Waker that they're remaking it? What was your initial reaction? What do you think about it when they first announced it?
I was definitely surprised when they first announced it. It seemed like a very out of the blue thing. Um, I always thought that Wind Waker was one of those games that they wouldn't remake for a long time, especially with everyone always pushing them for other games like A Link to the Past or Majora's Mask or other games that needed to be remade perhaps a little bit more. I didn't think that there was a lot with Wind Waker that they could really possibly make better at this point already. Um, so
Yeah, it was like they. I remember Miyamoto. He had put some quotes out there that he was interested in remaking A Link to the Past, and he even then the whole Majora's Mask 3D that's been like on Zelda fans' minds for years now. And what do we get? Like it's like Nintendo trolled us, and they're like, "Ha, take Wind Waker instead," but we'll take it. But do you like? I see a lot of correlation between the release of Ocarina of Time 3D on the Nintendo 3DS and the Wind Waker on the Nintendo Wii U. Like they both, like the 3DS came out, and then a few months later, Ocarina of Time came out, the remake, and the Wii U now less than a year after its release, it's getting a Zelda remake. Do you think Nintendo purposely looked at the success of Ocarina on the 3DS and thought, how can we replicate this on the Wii U?
yeah, I think Nintendo's one of those companies that really likes to do that, and they see that the Wii U isn't perhaps doing quite as well as they thought they would, so they try and look back and see what games did well or could do well on the Wii U and try and re-release those games to perhaps improve their sales a little bit. They tried to do that with Ocarina of Time, which probably made the 3DS a lot more popular than it would have been otherwise. And they're probably trying to do the same with the Wii U and Wind Waker.
Yeah, I remember like with the 3DS, it seemed that first like 7 months or so, Ocarina was like the only game worth owning. It seemed on the console. Like then they released like Star Fox, which was also a remake, but it wasn't until I think Super Mario 3D Land that there was anything worthwhile. And I granted, I think the Wii U lineup is significantly stronger right now than the 3DS lineup. It has Mario and it has Nintendo Land is a decent title, and there's some the Lego City and you know Pikmin will be out by there and by then and Monster Hunter, so they have some decent games. But yeah, you touched on the graphics a little bit, but what do you think about the graphics? And do you actually think like we've only seen a few screenshots from the Wind Waker, the HD version? Do you actually think the graphics are that substantially better for the game?
Yeah, when I first saw the pictures of it, it was definitely very different from the original GameCube game. But I don't think that it was necessarily better for a couple of different reasons. One, I've personally played extensively on emulators like Dolphin, and I've made better graphics myself, I thought, in 1080p and 720 on Dolphin, and they looked a lot better than those pictures did. I don't know if Nintendo was just trying to put out new pictures and try to get the idea out there, or if that's what the final game is actually going to look like. And I don't know if they're just messing around with textures and lighting at this point. Um,
Yeah,
I think Wind Waker's GameCube graphics looked really great, and I'm not sure if they can really improve on that much by putting it in HD on the Wii U.
Right. Like goes back to what you were saying earlier, where it seemed like the Wind Waker was the game that least needed like an upgrade. Like I actually think that's probably the absolute best looking game on the Nintendo GameCube, and I think I would even argue, uh, other than the resolution issues, uh, I think it's the best looking Zelda game out right now. Like I actually prefer the. I think it looks cleaner, the Wind Waker, than like Skyward Sword, which came out what almost 10 years after it, 8 years after it. So it's like they didn't really need to upgrade it. And like you mentioned, like we've seen all those like Wind Waker HD like screenshots on Nintendo Dolphin, the emulator, and they look amazing. And like it seemed unnecessary, and like I actually think it loses, like it doesn't look as cartoony. Would you agree? Like it's like it lost its childish look to it.
Yeah, definitely. They seem to change a lot with the lighting and the different aspects of it, and I think it loses a lot of the original cartoony, childish aspect of it, and it makes it look so much different and perhaps worse than it did on the GameCube.
Right, like when you're in the GameCube version, you're like riding along on your boat in the sea. Like I now, granted, I have a lot of complaints about the Wind Waker, but I won't. One of the things I won't ever question is how beautiful it looks when you're out on the sea, and it's got that whole like it gets your mind going. It's like you're really on like an exploration, and that was cool. But I don't know. It looks like we both agree that the graphics, meh. But what other things do you think they're gonna change? Do you think there's gonna be any new features with the Wind Waker? I mean, when Ocarina of Time 3D released, we got the Master Quest included. It was a little different because it was like a mirrored version. Plus, it had double the amount of damage. Do you think we'll see anything like that? Do you think we'll see like a boss gauntlet, sort of like with Ocarina, or anything else in addition to those?
Yeah, I think they'll try and include some of the things that they tried to do with other Zelda games, such as the boss gauntlet. Um, I don't think that they'll make a totally new Master Quest. I don't think that they'll change too much with the dungeons or the storyline or anything like that. What I hope that they do is perhaps make the second quest more than it used to be. The second quest in Wind Waker didn't really add very much. You could read Hylian text and you had different clothes, but there wasn't much more than that. So hopefully they'll do double damage or make it more advanced or change a lot more once you complete the game for the first time.
Yeah, was that all that was in the second quest of Wind Waker? Just the pajamas and the Nintendo, the gallery was the second quest.
Yep.
That's
They didn't really add too much after you completed it.
yeah. Granted, I think that was the, well, not counting way back on the original Legend of Zelda, that was really one of the first games that had a second quest. Although like the Oracles had somewhat of a second quest, but yeah, I'm hoping they do. Like I actually think Nintendo fans might feel like, because they did the second quest, the Master Quest with Ocarina, and with Skyward Sword, with Skyward Sword they had the Heroes Quest, which was the double damage and such. But like even that, it was like challenging. It was fun, but it didn't seem like enough for a second quest. Um, but yeah, what other additional features do you think they have? I know there was a lot removed from like the beta version of the Wind Waker. I know with interviews with Eiji Aonuma, at one point they thought the game was too big, too long, so they like removed some of the dungeons, and then I guess in replace from that we got these long, drawn out, boring, awful, worst thing in the world Triforce Shards quest at the end. Do you think they're actually gonna add any new like gameplay stuff, like any new locations or dungeons or anything of that nature?
I would hope so. I somehow doubt Nintendo will. I remember reading that they said that they were tuning the gameplay a little bit, whatever that may mean. I would hope that they might add a little bit more to the dungeons, or even add more dungeons, and perhaps scale back the sailing experience a little bit to make it flow a little bit more smoothly. And I often see people complaining about how you just get the third pearl from Jaboon and there's no dungeon to correlate with it, or perhaps they could add a little bit more to getting the power gauntlets or the iron boots and the fire
Hmm.
island and ice island, and add a lot more to that quest rather than just sailing from place to place.
Yeah, I sure hope they add to it. Like I think with Ocarina of Time 3D, they didn't really add too much to it, but I don't really think that game really needed more to add to it since it was pretty. It had a lot in it already with all the dungeons. It was more. There was more to do in the main quest. It seemed in Ocarina. Granted, I think uh, the Wind Waker and Ocarina, in terms of like how long the games are, they're roughly about the same. But it seems Wind Waker, you're spending a lot more time doing the same things, like the Triforce Shard quest, which takes multiple hours, and the sailing that takes up several hours of your gameplay. But I think there's more you could do with Wind Waker, given that there's so many locations along the Great Sea, so many islands. Like they could just tweak stuff. Like they could make a Nintendo Wii U island, just like stick it in one of the quadrants or something in the corner. But I really hope they add some new stuff. I think we'll see a boss gauntlet. I don't think it'll be part of the game. Like it's not going to be like Skyward Sword where you go talk to this guy. It'll be like after you beat the game, it'll be maybe one of the options in the menu, sort of like Ocarina of Time. But one of the big things, obviously, with the Nintendo Wii U is the whole gamepad thingy majig, the Wii U gamepad. Now, do you think it's gonna be of what use do you think the gamepad will have with Wind Waker?
I think that they could do a lot of different things with Wind Waker and a lot of the GameCube games. One of the features that I see a lot of people get turned off by is that they have to do Tingle side quests with a Game Boy Advance and a
Mm-hmm.
GameCube connector cable. And a lot of those don't necessarily exist anymore and aren't sold anymore, and they're just so complex to set up. And the same situation exists with other games like Four Swords Adventures,
Right.
and this could be made so much easier by just placing that all on the gamepad and just making it right directly in front of you without having to set anything additional up. So then they can just do it without having to put too much work into it.
Right. Yeah. I think the Tingle Tuner obviously is the number one thing that comes to mind because it's like the system was built for something of that use. I've actually never used the Tingle Tuner. I've never actually played Wind Waker with it, so to me that'll be sort of like a new experience. But um, I think this is one thing maybe they can expand on with features. Where can you explain? Do you recall like what type of things could you do with the Tingle Tuner in in Wind Waker? Was it just those maps in certain dungeons?
The main thing was the Tingle statues that you could find in each of the main five dungeons that during the Triforce Shard quest and Chart quest you could get 500 rupees for each one to help alleviate the cost for Tingle deciphering the maps. You could also do a few other things on various islands, like finding one of his brothers that would sell you items. You could also bomb certain locations for treasures and other rupees and various items.
Okay, so I guess there was a little more to it than I had initially thought. I know there was those. For some reason, I said charts or maps or whatever, but I know there was the statues. Um, but I think with the whole gamepad, they probably can use the Tingle Tuner again, have all those features, but because everybody who plays the game on the Wii U will have the gamepad, maybe they can do more with the Tingle Tuner, make that maybe even some sort of multiplayer aspect to it as well. With two people playing, like maybe one person plays with a Wii mode, or I don't know how that will work, but um, just like more maybe like dual controlling type things, or like maybe you're playing with Tingle and Tingle's vision or his like what you see of Tingle is on the gamepad, and then what you see of Link is on the screen. I don't know, maybe some sort of cross gameplay with two screen technology. Like I really hope they do more than just stick the invent. Like I think they'll put the inventory on there and like the HUD so that it's like a blank screen. But I really hope they do more. Do you think they could do anything else with the gamepad? Any additional features, or with the Tingle Tuner?
Yeah, the Tingle Tuner is the main thing that I would really hope that they would try and improve on and perhaps integrate more into the game. Um, I'd like to see the inventory on there, as you mentioned, and try and make the process between taking out items and
Mm-hmm.
putting them on for use to make it a lot easier. That was always one of my problems with Wind Waker, especially since you have to have the sale out at almost all the time, and you have to have so many different items out at the same time. It really makes it hard to switch between them, and it really makes it frustrating.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. And one thing, this is sort of off the Wii U a little bit, but I assume you'll be able to use the Wii Mote. Well, I don't know if you'll be able to use that as a way of playing the game. We'll see. But um, I remember when they first announced the Nintendo Wii, and I was thinking of the Wind Waker. Like, you should be able to. It'd be cool if you can play the Wind Waker songs with the Wii Mote. That'll be like, just start waving it around. I don't know. That might sound very gimmicky, almost Wii Music esque, but um, so like leading to my next point, the Wind Waker. As great of a Zelda game as it is, as good of the reviews that it got, it was kind of like when they first announced it, the Zelda community was a bit torn on it. They weren't sure because they wanted this more realistic, mature, like core Zelda game, and they thought they got this more like childish, shell shaded look, and it polarized the community. And in like when we look at it now, Wind Waker was actually one of the worst selling games in the franchise. Granted, it did sell 4.6 million, somewhere around there, but this was the least selling game other than Majora's Mask and the Oracle Duo. Every other prior Zelda games outsold the Wind Waker collectively with re-releases and everything. This might just be because it was on the GameCube. The GameCube didn't. It only had an install base of about 20, 25 million. Do you think the fact that Wind Waker, maybe not that many people were exposed to it, do you think this is why they've chose this particular game to re-release?
I think that's one of the points that they're trying to make with re-releasing Wind Waker. I think they think that it can really sell well on the Wii U and really on any console that they put out, especially with the GameCube sort of fading away now and not being made anymore, and parts being harder to find and replicas being harder to find, and it's getting to be a much harder game to play, and most people might struggle to try and play it. So they're trying to open it up to more people to try and play through it, especially with games out now like Phantom Hourglass and Spirit Tracks and a lot more games that involve Toon Link. More people might be more open to playing it and giving it a chance.
Yeah, I was actually surprised when I was doing my research for this segment that we were doing now. When I was looking at sales figures, I was surprised that Phantom Hourglass itself, the sequel to Wind Waker, actually outsold the Wind Waker. Granted that the Nintendo DS is the highest selling console of all time, so that had a lot to do with it. But like when people think of Zelda games in general, usually I know I'm generalizing, but they think of the handhelds as like the secondary games, when the core home console games as the core games. Um, so Wind Waker, like I think it'll reach a broader audience in that I think there's a lot of new Zelda fans that maybe with the Wii, with Twilight Princess and Skyward Sword, that was some of their first experiences, and maybe they didn't get a chance to play the Wind Waker. Um, as well as some people that might have passed up on the GameCube. Maybe they made the jump from the Nintendo 64 to the PS2 because Nintendo lost a lot of sales in that during that generation gap. So maybe this will give a lot of fans a chance to play it who previously missed out on the Wind Waker. But now we know Wind Waker is coming out sometime in 2013, probably October or November, whenever. Uh, Now there's like in that when they first announced the Wii U, they also when they first announced Wind Waker Wii U, they announced or made reference to Zelda Wii U, basically the next console Zelda game. Do you think they're using Wind Waker as sort of like a test almost for the Wii U, for Zelda Wii U? Like, let's see what the fans react to this graphical style or these gameplay elements. Do you think they're using it as like a test a little bit?
Yeah, I think they might be trying to see what graphics or what gameplay elements work better with the Wii U, to see what people might be more open to. I think they might also be trying to get that larger fan base and more people playing the Wii U, so Zelda Wii U does do a little bit more successfully and gives more people the opportunity to buy it and make it a more successful game.
Yeah, I actually think your last point. That's actually a good point because I think a lot of Zelda fans who, uh, they're sort of on the fence about the Wii U in general. They're they're like, oh yeah, I'm gonna get a Wii U eventually once they announce the next Zelda game. I think Wind Waker HD is sort of that bridge game between them getting the console, getting Wind Waker, and then eventually getting the next Zelda game. So I think it'll create more people will have Wii U's because of Wind Waker, and it will in turn create more hype for Zelda Wii U. I also think that they are using it as a test model because, with Nintendo, they keep going back and forth with their graphical style. Like, I mean, they don't really know what they're like. They keep changing. Twilight Princess was so much different than Wind Waker, and then obviously Spirit Tracks and Phantom Hourglass, they followed the Wind Waker their model a little bit. And then when we first saw Zelda Wii, it looked like it was like this more mature Link, almost like Twilight Princess, even more mature, more realistic. I don't like using that term realistic, but more photorealistic, I guess. Uh, and then it took like a drastic turn with Skyward Sword. Not really a drastic turn, but more cel shady, cartoony looking. And now Wind Waker is another step in a different direction. So I think they're just throwing stuff out there, gauging what the reaction is, and then I think we'll see. Uh, I think how successful Zelda Wii U or Wind Waker Wii U is will affect what Zelda Wii U the final product is. But yeah. So Josh, do you have any uh, lasting opinions on Wind Waker HD?
Um, I think it's a good thing for Nintendo to try. I think they can do a lot with it. Not necessarily the graphics or making it HD. I think they can try to make the game a little bit more in depth and try and fix a lot that they may have not done right the first time. I think they have more time to do it now than they may have in the past, and they can make it a better game than it was on the GameCube.
All right, so Wind Waker, we'll be playing you in a few months, about 6 months or so from now. But all right, so Josh, thanks for joining me on, and you're off the hot seat. I still don't have a name for this show. Granted, I've only done 2 episodes, but so guys, thanks for listening, and you feel free to leave some comments below what you thought about the show, some of your own opinions of the Wind Waker HD, and also leave some comments about what you'd like to hear us talk about in future hot seat discussion videos. So guys, until next time, take care.